You're listening to Way Out There on GJRB Online. If you'd like to talk to Gary on Skype at Gary.Russin. If you don't want to get on the radio, you can contact Gary via the chat room on the GJRB public site by clicking the comic book icon on the GJRB widget. And now, back to Way Out There on GJRB.
Yes, we're wrapping up our Way Out There show, the strange, the bizarre, the unusual, here on GJRB Online, putting it in. This is our last segment, and just kind of expanded it just a little bit over 5, and I wanted to get the last bit of piece in there that I wanted to talk about, so we could get that in there and do this last piece, last couple of segments. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to wrap up our program for today here on GJRB Online. So this is kind of a wrap-up segment, and kind of getting things ready to close up for our show for today. Didn't get much listeners, although earlier Mike Myers was curious about why he wasn't getting our posting for the live broadcast, because I know that I had posted all over the place. I usually do, and for some apparent reason, I don't know, he wasn't getting them, so my wife helped out and aided in trying to get that together. So I'm hoping maybe you'll join us in this last segment before we close up our show today. So kind of do maybe extra half hour. That's pretty much it. Normally I do an extra half hour. Sometimes I do 2 to 5:30. That used to be my old time slot, which I do 2 to 5. But certain days I might just expand, especially when I'm on my 9-foot FM signal here in Clinton, because usually I'll expand an extra half hour. So I thought, well, why not? Just a little longer, just to finish up the show. So I'm going to go into my Cool Jazz and pull up my Cool Jazz theme, which I got to move so that I can make room for more music. So I'm going to pull up my heavy here, and I'm going to be moving that out of heavy anyway. Lighter. I'm going to move that out of light and put it under recurrent, but it's also the theme to our what's on Spreaker. So I'm going to do that right now. Got to go over to the Spreaker public site and go to where I have my show and go over to the schedule page and see what's on Spreaker tonight, because it's time for that part of the show we call What's on Spreaker, where we take a look and see what our other fellow podcasters are putting on. So it's time for that now. And tonight on Spreaker, take a look. New West Radio Theater is on at 9 o'clock. Also at 6 o'clock tonight, 6 to 11 p.m., Debbie Scott, the Deborah Scott Radio Show from down in south in Florida, the Florida Panhandle, bring you the best variety of music tonight, live, Debbie Scott, at 6 o'clock. Also tonight at 11 o'clock is Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. And I believe he's going to do some show on the paranormal, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see what he's doing tonight. I got that on here. What is he doing here? Spaced Out Radio. Here it is. Spaced Out Radio. Let's see what we got here coming up. Meanwhile, while we're doing that, let's see here. Tomorrow morning, early, it's the Mike Myers Show, and inspirational talk, a feel-good kind of radio, kind of bring and express the message of Jesus Christ. And a lot of the stuff that I talk about in this show, I want to make a mention that doesn't fully reflect my opinion on a lot of things, or GJRB or Spreaker. I like to talk about the aliens and the paranormal and stuff like that, but to be honest with you folks, that's don't like to entertain the demons too much, okay? Just kind of talk about this stuff because we're aware of it, it's there, but we don't want to, not emphasize it a little much, you know what I'm saying? 2 a.m. in the morning, let's take a look. The Ace show will be on. That's on, and also the Gypsy Zone. Later on tomorrow, TJWS Radio Network. And then at 8 o'clock p.m. late night on GHTR, great classic rock. And the Urban Mix with Kelly Keel and the Vinyl Oasis Radio. And then at 11 o'clock tomorrow night, it'll be Spaced Out Radio with Tessa, taking the board for Dave Scott. And Tessa always has an interesting program. That's tomorrow night, 11 o'clock. And in the midst of all that, I don't have it on the schedule yet, will be tomorrow at 2 o'clock Central Time, right here on GJRB Online, Bluegrass Jubilee. And play all your favorite new emerging bluegrass music. Some of your all-time favorite bluegrass music. Tomorrow afternoon, 2 o'clock Central, Bluegrass Jubilee. Tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock right here on GJRB Online. That's 2 o'clock East and 2 o'clock Central Time, 3 o'clock East, and noon in the Pacific Time Zone. And, of course, 2 o'clock for the certain part of Florida that observes the Central Time Zone, which I thought was really interesting. That Northern Panhandle where Debbie Scott is, and the Debbie Scott Radio Network. You guys get Bluegrass Jubilee at 11 o'clock. But tonight, it's the Allen Influence in Modern Society with Andrea Perrin tonight on Spaced Out Radio. 9 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock p.m. Pacific Time, and that's in the Pacific. And, of course, 9 o'clock Pacific Time, 11 o'clock here in the Central, midnight Eastern for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. So I hope you'll tune in tonight for that broadcast. Always fabulous. And now it's time to see what's on Coast to Coast tonight. I should get the Coast to Coast theme. I don't have it. I'm going to see if I can find it. I know I could probably find it. No doubt about it. Calling likes my and reacted nicely to happy anniversary for her and Gary. So we got a nice response there. Also a comment from Steve Wilson and Michael J. Martin. Nice comment there. Look at that one. And Mike Myers commented on my link. There it is. The 10 way out there, 1019, and I'm talking about the strange things that are happening, and Blake saying weird, it's not showing up on my end. So it was really Blake. So Blake, I thought it was Mike. So Blake wasn't getting it. His nephew wasn't getting it on his end. But I'm hoping I'm going to have to check and see what's going on with that. But Blake, I'm hoping maybe you want to listen to this program. It was pretty good today. Really was. Talking about biometrics with Walmart. And earlier we were talking about the Blue Beam Project, which I'm going to have part 2 on the next edition of Way Out There, and we'll probably do that in November, beginning of November sometime, because next week I have Radioland Time Warp and Swing Time and the Blues House And then the final few days of October, I'm going to be doing Radioland, October 30th. And it's my annual running of War of the Worlds, H.G. Wells radio broadcast, the Orson Welles original Mercury Theater of the Air, presenting H.G. Wells and War of the Worlds. We're going to run that next week. That'll be coming up on the 30th. Okay, the 30th. War of the Worlds. And then on a little earlier on Wednesday the 31st, here on Spreaker, we're going to do, about earlier on the 31st. Probably, I'm going to say from noon until maybe 3 on that day. Okay, so watch for postings. Noon to 3. I'm going to be doing 80s. We're going to rock in 80s. We're going to do some 80s. So tune in for that. That'll be on the 31st, rockin' 80s, right here on GJRB Online. So some of the programs coming up on GJRB. And I'll be posting those on the Spreaker public site, and I'll pop them into the schedule, and I'll set a date for the next edition of Way Out There. My wife and I are talking about doing a show, so we got some good stuff coming up here on Spreaker on GJRB Online. So check that out, okay? Alrighty. All right, now time to do the rundown of Coast to Coast guests for this week. Starting tonight, this is the schedule starting October 19th, that's today, going through October 26th, Coast to Coast with George Norrie. Tonight, Richard Syrett takes the board with New Balance of World Power. He believes without a doubt that the United States and her allies are locked into a prophetic global confrontation on many fronts. A new kind of duel, Cold War with the Russians and the Chinese. He's going to be on with Richard Syrett. His name is Robert Mangus. He's been on before. There's another guy I wouldn't mind having on my show. This guy's interesting. This Robert Mangus. Fabulous. And if I could get JMD board, I could probably get Robert Mangus. Most definitely. The mystery of FDR's death is the subject Saturday night when Richard Syrett again takes the board. He's going to have Arthur Richard Albany, who's been digging into the death of FDR. He believes it has been told to the public for decades. Joining Richard Syrett, he'll share. Albany shares questions as to why Eleanor, suddenly 12 years after FDR's death, hired a private investigator to probe into his doctor's treatment methods. And then the first hour guest is going to be Thomas Rosetto, who discusses the mystery around Harry Houdini's death and the afterlife. That'd be a good show. That's Saturday night. On Art Bell, Somewhere in Time, he's going to go back to October 22nd, 1996. That was the night of open lines and such topics as the Philadelphia experiment, one of my favorite topics, and the mutilations and the quickening. Oh, that ought to be another good show. That's one of my favorite subjects. So this is a rebroadcast of Art Bell when he had Coast to Coast. So it's always good when I play those. Art Bell, fabulous. I mean, that is when I started getting into these topics. Because Art Bell was fabulous. He was. I used to love to listen to his show. And I miss him a lot. I do. I would love to have met him. That's another one I would love to have met. Was Art Bell. He would have been fabulous to meet. He really would have been. That would have just been incredible. Coming up on Coast to Coast Sunday night, George Knapp is going to take over the board. His guest is David Paul Lines. I don't know how to pronounce that. Lynn Vincent and Sarah Vladik. First hour, 9-year hiatus with this last Bigfoot book. David Paulides returns to the Sasquatch topic as he joins Knapp They'll share the descriptions of wild men and skeletons of giants, which date back to the 1600s. That'd be good. In the second half of the show, Lynn Vincent and Sarah Viadek will discuss the 300 men who went down in the USS Indianapolis in 1945 and being struck by Japanese torpedoes. Nearly 900 of the crew made it into the water alive, and for the next 5 nights and 8 days, almost 300 miles from the nearest land, man battled injuries, sharks, dehydration, insanity, and eventually each other. Okay. Monday night's Coast to Coast takes a look at the quest for immorality and ghost theories. George Norrie's back on the show with, can't pronounce that name, Peter Bevergall and Brandon Massulto, Massulto, I guess, Massulilo, whatever. Anyway, the first half of the show, Peter Bevergall will be talking about on the intersection of popular culture, religion, and science. Will discuss how people have used technology in an effort to search for immorality, and including famous inventors, engineers, and seers. Second half of the show takes a look with that person, Brandon. They're going to talk about he's a therapist and parapsychological. He's going to share new theories in which might explain apparitions, hauntings, and communications with the dead, along with the latest research on the role of energy. Okay. Coming into Tuesday night next week, terrorist bombing, secret bases, and cursed places. George Norrie has, in the first half of the show, he's going to have Fred Burton and Samuel M. Katz on to discuss the deadly terrorist bombing of the American embassy in Lebanon in 1983, the dramatic events following which ignited a war against terror and continues to shape the Middle East to this day. Second half of the show, Mark Maloney to update his search on secret bases around the world and finding evidence of UFOs, as well as a new work on the cursed and haunted places around the world. So that'd be another good one. Yeah, definitely. Let's take a look at what's happening on Wednesday night. Secret Door Special. He's done this before. Always good when they do that because he has numerous guests on. Some of them would be Carissa Renteria, I guess that, and who's behind the secret door. Will welcome surprise guests. So there are numerous guests on this show. It's always good when he does this because he has interesting guests every night, for like quite a while, one after another, and each guest is based on their voice. He guesses their voice, and the first hour will be on witchcraft and cosmetic optimism. Now, what were we just talking about earlier with the last 7 days today? Carissa Renteria will share the higher perspectives and why some adults and children are more susceptible to demonic attacks. And she'll also discuss her crossing and reversal work done. So it's not about that. It's about this. Work done in spells to clear demons. So this is interesting. Cosmic, not cosmetic. That's where I got messed up. Okay. That was I read it wrong. Sorry about that. Practicing witch and host cosmic optimism. Okay, so let's take a look at Thursday. Thursday takes a look at Thursday night, one of my favorite nights. It's Earth Files night again with Linda Moulton Howe, that very person I want to meet. I had to try to get on that show. Jonathan Raskus is on along with that. But that's in the first hour. He's a financial advisor and researcher. And his work on spooky events and synchronicities and coincidences. So that'd be a good show. But Linda Moulton Howe takes the rest of the night with Planet 9 and the discovery of another strange dwarf planet nicknamed Goblin. And also climate change. I don't know what that is. Climate change. Also some afterlife stuff. Life after death stuff again. And retired U.S. Air Force Staff Sergeant. Past encounters with a UFO. So that'll be a good one. Finally, next Friday night will be Science Out of Bounds with open lines to follow. And Ian Punnett will take that show. I'm glad to hear him back. I like Ian Punnett. I like when he takes over the show because he always has interesting guests. Ian Punnett was off the air for a while because he had some trouble with tinnitus, ringing in the ears, and it was affecting him to a point where he couldn't really be on the radio anymore. He was not on the air for quite some time, and it was really, really glad to hear him back because he always has a great show when he's on. And he's got an award-winning physics instructor from Harvard University. They're going to discuss, his name is Michael Gillian. He's going to discuss how scientific community is pushing the boundaries of morality, including scientists who detach the head of a Russian man from his crippled body and stitch it onto a healthy, new, donated one. What? Oh, that's weird. Okay. And also fertility experiments aimed at allowing designer babies to be conceived with a DNA from 3 or more biological parents. And then open lines follow. That's what's on Coast to Coast this week. So tune in for that. Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. Fabulous show. I don't care what anybody says. They can knock him all they want. I still like the program. Now, I know one of the followers here on GJRB Online, AKCOG, calls him George Snorri, or is that what he calls him? I know he does. But, whether you like him or not, he does have an interesting show anyway. Coast to Coast, I still like to listen to it. Every night, 7 nights a week on many fine, over 600 radio stations alone this program is on. So it can't be all that bad. He's still over 600 stations, including some fine stations across America. But AK, I will not mention you, the affiliate that picks up Coast to Coast in Anchorage, because I know you don't like the show anyway. So, by the way, if he's listening or if he listens to this podcast later, Coast to Coast to him, what time does that come on? I bet you that's early in the evening for him, isn't it? Anyway, Coast to Coast with George Norrie, many fine radio stations across the country, including WFLA, Tampa, Florida, and our GJRB new affiliate, Fox News Talk 92.5 in Estero, Florida, WFSX. Also, fine stations all across America, including WTAM, Cleveland, Ohio, WKBN, Youngstown, Ohio, WJAS, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and, of course, here in the Iowa, WMT Cedar Rapids, AM 600, and WOC Talk Radio 1420. By the way, the other night I was listening to Coast on WOC, which has been like forever since I've been listening to that on WOC, and it was crystal clear. I mean, the signal was beautiful. I mean, I haven't heard Coast to Coast that clear on WOC for a long time, because I've been having trouble with that signal. But WOC was coming in gangbusters the other night. And I was listening to Coast finally on our station in Davenport the other night. It's like, wow, crystal clear signal. But I also listen to other affiliates like WHO Des Moines. Some of the fine stations that pick up Coast to Coast with George Norrie. Well, getting up to the 5:30 mark, I kind of went a little over what I said I was going to go over. So I think what we're going to do then in that case is to put an end to this program right away and say that's it. That's going to wrap it up for our show tonight. Thanks a lot for tuning in. That's it for Way Out There. I'll have another show, reminder, we'll have another show with part 2 of the Blue Beam Project and other stuff. So be aware of that. Okay? I'll let you know when that'll be on. I'll post it on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, all my postings. I'll repost it and post it so you don't miss it. Be back again tomorrow for Bluegrass Jubilee at 2 o'clock. Until then, you have your best rest of your night. Have a good night, everyone. So long. And remember to look up in the skies and let me know what you see way out there. Good night, everyone.
You're listening to Way Out There on GJRB Online. If you like to talk to Gary, on Skype.
Swing time is back. Oops. GJRB, all new and live with spotlighted band leaders. On this show, featuring the music of Stan Kenton. Also, the biggest hits from the big band era by your request. In addition, all your favorite features are back. And a new one. This week in the big band era. Call in, let me know what you want to hear. On Skype, it's Gary.Russin, or in the Facebook Messenger, or in the Spreaker chat room. Swing Time returns Friday, October 26th at 2 o'clock p.m. Central, 3 o'clock Eastern, and 12 noon Pacific on GJRB. America's Street Music is back on GJRB, Bluegrass with the Grass Golds, Bill Monroe and his Bluegrass Boys, and so much more. So it's time to bring it back, and on more often. It's Bluegrass Jubilee Freestyle, with all the great songs you heard before, and some new up-and-coming stars with some emerging bluegrass. Also, some all-time gospel favorites too. Every third Saturday at 2 o'clock Central on GJRB. The blues is back. The doors open to the Blues House on GJRB. Coast to Coast and Way Out There fans, listen up. If you like UFO conspiracies, ghosts, and the paranormal, you'll love Spaced Out Radio. Spreaker's answer to Coast AM, with more interesting guest experts in the paranormal and UFOs each month. If you like Way Out There, you'll love Spaced Out Radio. Own the night with Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Nightly at 11 p.m. Central, 12 o'clock midnight Eastern, and 9 p.m. Pacific. On Spreaker, on Periscope, and on D-Talk Radio Network. A quick reminder, as soon as we get off the air here on GJRB Online, if you want to hear Way Out There over again, just click to the first part, and as soon as we go off the air, just reboot the browser and click play, and you can listen to this show from the very beginning. Way Out There. You can listen to it anytime on GJRB Online. The doors are open to the Blues House on GJRB.
This is GJR Broadcasting.